July 29th, 2025. First item on the agenda is introduction of new members, and I'll start with the introduction of our new planning director, interim, Linda Staub. I think everybody's met her, or most everybody. Okay, with that, Linda, you want to do the rest of the introductions?
Sure. We have 2 new planning board members tonight. We've got Chris Plum. You want to introduce yourself?
Hi, Chris Plum. Been living in Emerald Isle over 5 years now, and super excited to be on this board and serve the community.
Welcome. Glad to have you.
Thank you.
And then Bill Little.
I'm Bill Little. We've lived here permanently for 2 years and 20 years, off and on. I worked and the wife came down here. So that was pretty much, she said if I wanted to continue being with her, that I had to go down here also. And after 54 years, I'm pretty attached to her.
Happy wife, happy life.
That's right.
And I'm Kenny Sullivan. I'm currently the chairman. We'll have that on the agenda tonight. I've been here permanently since '93. And I've been on the planning board for just over 20 years now. I think I'm in my 12th term. They keep giving me a 2-year sentence for good behavior. I don't get out early for good behavior. They add more time for good behavior. So keep that in mind.
No good deed goes unpunished.
That's right.
You want to do the rest?
Yeah, you can do the rest.
Okay, Jim.
Absolutely perfect. No, I'm Jim DeBovic. We moved down here about 6.5 years ago when my daughter was born. Permanently, we've been down here basically all my life. And it's such an honor and privilege to be able to work with this community, to see what I've seen all this time and progress as we like to see. And I look forward to now the next 3 years. So great.
3, only 1. So Andrea Beasley, I am born and raised, and I've been told that you're only local if you were actually born at Carter General. I survived it back in the 70s. So born and raised, lived there, and then decided to move away from home, which is my parents in Moorhead, because I needed space. So 7-ish years ago, we moved to Emerald Isle because it felt like it was far enough away, but you could still do Morse code with a flashlight.
Oh, absolutely.
Chad McAvery. I've been a resident of Emerald Isle since about 91 or 92, property owner since 97. Work and play here, love it here, wanted to be part of something to give back to the community, whatever I can offer in assistance to our great board members and all the other folks within the town. And I've been on the planning board probably, I think, 8 years, maybe 7, 8 years. We were just talking about that. Yes, I'm the OG on, well, Kenny, next to Kenny.
Kenny's OG.
Currently
Kenny
the
and
vice
then
chairman,
Chad's
but-
second OG, yeah.
When I joined, I was the youngest person on the planning board. That's changed a lot. I got a little older. Okay, with that, ready to move on to the next
I just want to
item?
make one correction. Kenny, you said it was July 29th. It's the 28th.
28th.
Just want to let you know. Just
On
before
what?
it goes to the minutes.
Today. 28.
You skipped, you lost a day for us.
Yeah, you were calling
We still
it
need
July 29th meeting.
Oh.
It's the 28th.
Thank you.
Get that in the minutes.
I even checked my calendar when I wrote this down. Hey, changing a 9 to an 8's easy.
Sounds good.
Okay. I hope I didn't lose a vote over that mistake. But the next item is election of officers. For you two new folks, what we do is once a year, usually every June, is we elect chairman and vice chairman. There's no special requirements for it. It's just one of the rules. We elect the chairman and vice chairman every year by the majority vote of the board. So with that said, currently I'm the chairman. Chad McAvery is vice chairman. And I would be willing to serve another year as chairman. Chad, you ready to go again as vice chairman?
So be it.
somebody want to make a motion to that?
Are you interested in being chairman?
I'm not this year.
Okay. Yeah.
You make a motion
So,
that,
I would make a motion to accept the renewal of Kenny as chairman and Chad as vice chairman for this upcoming 25-26 year.
Andrea made the first, and Jim made the second. Any discussion?
No, so one of us has to make the third, right?
No, you only need a first
Two?
and second.
Okay, all right.
No, but you can talk about it.
I'm fine.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous? Congratulations, Chad.
Condolences.
Same to you, buddy.
You look super happy.
It's all good, whatever I have to do.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is roll call. Linda, will you take the roll, please?
Kenny Sullivan,
Here.
Chad McAvery,
Here.
Chris Plum,
Here.
Andrea Bleasley,
Here.
Bill Little,
Here.
Jim DeBovic.
Here.
And I want to let you know that Ethan, he had to submit his resignation because he moved out of Emerald Isle. He was sorry he had to.
Bless his heart. You want to live here.
It's kind of a rule you have to live in town to be on the board.
I don't know. Should've moved.
Okay, then I think this only applies to 4 of us, maybe only 3 of us. I forget who was there. Next item on the agenda is approval of January planning board meeting minutes. It's been that long since we've had a meeting. So if you can remember that far back, and y'all weren't here, but, and how do they vote? Okay,
I wouldn't hear you.
you've got to trust us, I guess.
Okay, it's just us three. Okay.
I didn't notice any outright typos.
Thank you for checking that for us.
You actually read all 7 pages?
Yeah,
Oh, cool. I didn't.
it's too hot to do anything else outside, so I sat and read.
Fair.
I would make a motion to approve the minutes from January 27th, 2025 meeting.
I second the motion.
And that was Jim on the motion and Andrea on the second. Trying to get your names in the minutes for next one, right? Okay, any other discussion on the minutes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion's passed unanimous. Side note for you two is, as chairman, I can vote, but I don't vote. I can.
Right.
My vote, I only have to vote if there's a tie, and I break the tie. I don't think that's ever happened.
Okay.
So, next item on the agenda is a review of request to two UDO amendments. And I'll let Linda explain that to you. And there's an amended document I think everybody got on. Okay. That, Linda, it's all yours.
Okay, the first item of business is the proposed Unified Development Ordinance Amendment for non-conforming decks. We have a lot of people that come in in the time that I've been there, there've been a lot that want to rebuild their decks, and they're not rebuilding them because they're non-conforming, and they would they would have to meet setbacks, which could lead to problems with ingress and egress out of the house. That's been the big thing. Plus, they've always had it that way, and they just want to replace what they have, and they don't want to lose square footage and that sort of thing. So the proposed amendment is to address that, and it's basically to allow for a legally non-conforming deck to be replaced in whole or in part. And you can see the exceptions, that there be no increase in nonconformity, there's no enclosure or roof, it has to be at the same location. Also, this was added today after speaking with the chairman. If an identified or documented safety concern exists, such such as an encroachment into the right-of-way, interference with overhead utilities or similar hazards, the deck footprint may need to be adjusted, just to let people know that, you know, there may be a chance that they might not be able to get exactly what they want. And of course, permits would be required. And that is the gist of the PDO amendment.
I had one question, Linda. So on that,
Oh, sorry,
here,
I
but that's
don't know
okay.
what happened.
On that, it's about their existing footprint. Was that existing footprint previously permitted? Is that going to be checked out, or is it just like they came in on the weekend and built a deck because they felt like they wanted to expand the square footage, and yet now they can continue to have that? Or, you know, when they come to apply for a new permit to replace the deck, the non-conforming deck, is it possible that you go back and you look at the county for if it was pulled originally or how the site plan was originally? I'm just asking because it's like there's so many weekend warriors that come down here and they're gonna build a deck all the way over to the property line. And then now they're non-conforming, but they're non-conforming because they did it without a permit in the first place. So now here we are in a situation where we're gonna permit them to allow them to have it regardless of how it came to play.
What we would do is there's a lot of aerial photography from the county off of the GIS that goes back to the 70s, so we can look at that. We would also check the permit records. Permit records typically in the county don't go back further than 6 years, so we would be able to use those two resources. Beyond that, there's not a lot more that we can do. I do know that we do get complaints. I mean, there's a lot of, when people are building, even if they have a permit, we get calls about that. So I think that it, like for the weekend warriors, we usually find out about them, so.
There's unpermitted work going on all the time, so it's just a matter of, they're gonna get caught one way or the other, I guess.
Question, you know, some of the terminology as to the proposed amendment, I hate to use oxymoron, but it's kind of a conflicting term if you use the plain intent of what we're trying to do. You say illegally non-conforming. Well, if it's non-conforming, it's not legal. In there, you would either had to have grandfathered it in using the town's definition of non-conforming structures or uses in there, which should then say, their complaint is, we say, you've got to make it conforming to the current ordinance. So they say, well, that impacts our egress and ingress, and we just don't like it. Well, what they can do then, if we put it into the ordinance, that they can request a variance. Just because somebody doesn't like it shouldn't mean they should have a blanket opportunity to continue being non-conforming, which would seem to defeat the purpose of having an ordinance. So if you sit there and say a non-conforming deck shall comply with all when it's repaired or replaced, must conform to the current town ordinances and to the current building codes. In there, if a modification to this is requested, then they have to file for a variance and go in and establish why they would need a variance, which is under the rules for variances, it is a legal exemption from a requirement. In there, if it says that I need to have an occupant, I have to have 10 feet, and that puts me within 3 feet of the over setback line. In there, you can make a request for a variance as long as it doesn't impact the rules for variances under the town's ordinances.
But there's also, under the state law, you need to have a hardship for a variance. And if your lot is the same as everybody else's lot, what's your hardship?
Well, we've had cases,
We've already went through
and we've done it, and
Yeah.
you can see that they bought the house with this much porch. They expect that much porch for the value of their house, and that's a hardship to us. I mean, like, that we've dealt with cases like this. So, I mean, I agree with what you're saying. I think it on a case-by-case basis, because otherwise, we're probably going to get some rogue, I don't know.
Well, we have to define what a hardship is.
Money is a hardship.
in there. Well, if you're having to repair or replace
No,
it,
money is not a hardship under the conditions of a.
Not in the value of your home, though?
Do we happen to have there's 4 things that have to legally be met on hardships? I don't know them right now off the top of my head, and I'm sorry about that.
Well, we're not the Board of Adjustment anymore.
It's not board adjustment.
So that, if it goes to the Board of Adjustment, they would have to contend with that.
That'd be their issue, yeah.
It would just kind of go off of what
Right.
both sides were talking about is what can be met in legal nonconformity, I guess, would be the biggest look.
Linda, what is the town staff position on this proposed UDO amendment? I mean, what did you guys, I know you came up with it, but it's, I mean, you see it every day more than we do. We see it.
Right, well,
on
part
people.
of the problem is that we see, or that I saw, was that we do have a lot of people that come and ask for, to replace their decks, and rather than replace them, they just continue to use them, which makes them unsafe.
Yeah.
There's a lot of unsafe decks, like there's a lot of nails in the wood there's no nail anymore. And so we just felt like this would be a way to address that situation, because you don't want to have people falling through and that sort of thing.
I guess I would hope that people would be willing to go to the Board of Adjustment to bring a variance idea to them, because we've had people come to us and we don't want to take away from their square footage, and we don't want to take away their place where they've had their seats to see the ocean, unless it's going to block the right of way for somebody to take a right. I mean, and I live on the other side of town, but there are places where you can't see left when you're turning onto a road because of things like that. And so I guess I just am concerned that there might be things that we would keep that maybe are not safe, but you already added the language in, so I think that helps.
That's
But-
exactly why I asked for that. And I talked to
Yeah.
Linda for about an hour today. Thank you for all that time. I know you're real busy. But what I've seen it right around town is obviously the deck wasn't permitted, because it'll have overhead service coming to the corner right at the edge of the deck, and there'll be a table there with an umbrella on it, with an aluminum pole, 2 feet from the power line, with a flagpole right under it, at the edge of the deck. And that's why we needed at least some exception. And that, to me, made it obvious that it wasn't permitted, so that might help Chad with.
And I'm good with all of it. Like, again, I love the idea of people, they bought a house that had a certain footprint, they want to keep that footprint. I'm not trying to take that away, because I think that's what you bought. I just want to make sure that we are, if it comes in as a variance request or however it is, because again, we're pretty fair, I think. The ones we've had, the ones where we couldn't accept it, they went outside of the original footprint.
And in some cases, safety reasons, it's better to have a new non-conforming
yeah.
deck than one that's about to fall down that they
True.
can't replace, so they're going to push
Very true.
it till it does. So for safety concern, it's probably better to replace them than to let them get worse and worse shape.
well, see, that goes back then to if we're looking at hardship versus safety in there, safety would be the overriding factor, because you've already said, somebody's built their existing non-conforming deck is already into the right-of-way or is already into the, let's light up the world with the pole and stuff and the light line in there. Even with that exception, you're saying, okay, well, we're going to take these 2 away, but what about other? And they said, well, that's a hardship on us. And there, so then we have to go back and define what a hardship was. And so I think we're all saying the same thing, but I think we need to be more specific in the language so it's easier to understand and it's not open to interpretation as to defining, and I still can't get over the hurdle, legally non-conforming. It's just non-conforming and we've grandfathered it in there. But if they need to change it, then it needs to comply with the current, unless a hardship as defined, in which at that time they can request a variance from that.
Which that happens fairly often.
Yeah, and I think that would be the appropriate thing, is that we simply say that if you replace a non-conforming or repairing, it must come in compliance with the current ordinance that's in effect dealing with decks at that point. And if an exception is requested you then would file for a variance from that. That way, you've kept it, and one of the towns is sitting there saying, okay, we're giving you latitude, but if you have a financial hardship or you have a personal hardship such as, I can't get the wheelchair in and out, we use that as a good example, because you have an elevator, then that would be an obvious reason for a variance to be requested, not just because, well, I don't like it and it works hard on me. That requires the town planner, town staff to use subjective interpretation, and that puts a liability on them if they mess it up. If the ordinance is plain, and the plain meaning of the ordinance is there, and you provide them an opportunity to seek an exemption, then I think that's one that saves the staff and the town from liability. Well, you approved it because I said it was a hardship, and you said, okay.
As I see it, and I have confidence in town staff to do this, they look at the permit, they look at the existing deck, and it's obviously not a problem with blocking a view or problems with the neighbors, but it's 2 foot encroaching on a very large lot, but encroaches the setbacks by 2 feet, not the right of way.
Yeah.
Setback. That instead of having to go the extra time and effort of going to the planning board or board of adjustment, town staff spends a lot of time drawing those things up, and it pushes them way back. I have confidence in the staff to
Right.
be able to determine what should be able to be replaced without a variance and what shouldn't.
I agree. Staff has I have confidence in staff. They know their job. But when you give them subjective versus objective, it puts the town potentially in liability because, okay, we have an interim town planner now who says, this is good. The next town planner says, I don't like that. Well, then what happens to the people who say, well, the first town planner said it was okay, and now this one does, because it was a subjective versus an objective. If the language in the ordinance is clear, then that doesn't give them the latitude, unless we add a whole bunch of stuff into the language and say, these are exceptions, which then the staff can approve.
That's part of, I agree with that concern that I talked to Linda about adding D in there. And if an identified documented safety concern exists, if it's a safety concern, they think there's a liability with it. You know, too close to power lines, too close to utility lines.
In the right of way, all the things. No, I'm with you. I understand what you're saying, Kenny, and I agree. I like less
The
rules,
safety concern
not
is
more
fine,
rules.
yeah.
Well, I mean,
Way more less rules.
so
Less
add
rules.
This gives the
add
town-
to the end of that. and
town
may-
employee-
That may need to be adjusted and may.
But that doesn't
call
address
for a
hardship.
variance. That's what it does.
Yeah.
That only addresses the safety
That-
concern.
There's a hardship
Things
in
under
the
D.
Board of Adjustment case.
Right, but it doesn't say that in the ordinance.
So just make it on Kenny's addition on letter D to just after it says may need to be adjusted, may also need to apply for a variance at such time.
That way they can deal with the town, but like, so many hurdles for everything.
Well, the
I
question
agree
becomes town
The
liability.
word
Well, I
legally
know, that's-
non-conforming, does it need to be legally non-conforming? Because it's just non-conforming regardless.
Yeah, we can do
What's
that.
We make it up.
Eliminate the
Say
legal
you can't
con-
replace it,
I mean-
and then next week it collapses because they couldn't
Eliminate legally.
replace it.
No, well, you said
Add the-
there's a permitting process that says this is how you replace it. And they said, well, I don't want to do it that way. Then it becomes up to the town to know that this is in violation.
It's in violation not of safety standards as far as construction. They still have to build it to the building code,
Right.
so that kind of safety concern is going to be there no matter what. How they build it, where they build it.
If the town says, thou shalt do it this way, and they say, well, I don't like the way the town do it, so I'm not going to do anything to it, and it collapses, it's not the town's liability, it's the property owner's liability.
Right.
Because there were rules to follow, which they elected not to follow. You know, it's like, when your
That
your
goes to a
daddy told
different
you.
section.
when
But
your mama
even
told-
if
Then
they
at
fall
that
in the
time, the town can
townships.
condemn it, and then they'd have to apply for the variance.
Yeah, I mean, when your mama said, don't touch the stove, it's hot, well, if you touched it, you
Of
found
course
out
I'm
it's
going
wrong.
to.
That's
Trying to
right.
see if it's really hot.
Everybody's gonna touch it.
Well, I think it's written very well with the addition, and if you add in that there's always an option to apply for a variance for a hardship, or however you want the proper wording for that. I think it's a good idea to give the planning director, staff, a little more leeway in helping people replace their aging decks, both for safety reasons, sightly, but safety is one of the big concerns for me, that an old deck about to collapse, let them replace it reasonably, to make it safer again, and better for the neighborhood, look better, be safe. Now, a nonconformity would not be handrails too low or different, wrong spacing on pickets. That would have to be corrected. You can't have a nonconformity against code. Building code is what I'm saying, correct? Frank, please?
I can hear you.
We can hear you.
Just to be helpful to you all, let you know some of the intent behind this. So certainly if we go through a process and we determine that it was a weekend warrior who obviously flaunted the rules and didn't work, and was not consistent with the ordinances, we would not allow them to replace that. I think when you think of, thank you. When you think about legally non-conforming, the intent, the implication there is that it's something that was done long ago, maybe before a requirement was in place, maybe by the previous owner. Hopefully they did it in compliance with whatever ordinances at that time. But the intent behind the provision that Linda's describing is to basically look at those conditions where they just want to replace the existing deck, the footprint, for the safety reasons or other reasons, and it's pretty simple and straightforward. If we identified a situation where it's an obvious violation of previous ordinance, we would not allow them to proceed in that way. So I think that's kind of the key phrase when it comes to legally non-conforming. And then I think the question for the planning board, and ultimately for the Board of Commissioners, is how simple and efficient do you want to make the process for our property owners versus do you want to make them go through the process with a variance and more time, maybe more expense? It's also very, very difficult to secure a variance. There are legal tests that, quite frankly, in my professional experience, many variances that have been issued probably aren't legal because it is a very high bar and a very high standard. Oftentimes, you have a very sympathetic Board of Adjustment that wants to be helpful to people, and I applaud that. But if anyone ever challenged them, they're probably going to be overturned. So I just wanted to explain the intent behind it, my philosophy as the town manager. I want to make it as easy as possible for our customers to do business with us if they're legitimately making a good faith effort to comply with the requirements and so forth. So if that's helpful to you, I just wanted to share that. So.
Thanks, Frank.
Very
Thank you. So a legally non-conforming deck, that makes perfect definition. It was outside of where our regulations are right now. It was approved at some point in time. We would have that on file. So that legally non-conforming makes sense to me. Second piece would be, only thing that I could see is if a safety concern, encroachment, interference, overhead utilities, anything like that, may require a variance, would be about the only thing that I could add to that, just to give it more of a clear-cut idea. I
Yeah,
don't know.
take Kenny's add-on,
Add a-
and then
add a
that would be
sentence to the
required
tail end of
variance.
that.
Yes, sir.
Yep,
That-
I like it.
I think, for example, let's say the person came to the staff and they wanted to replace the non-conforming deck, and the staff said, no, we're not going to allow you to do that. The applicant could certainly apply for a variance at that time, and the Board of Adjustment may agree or disagree with that. So that's always an option. On every enforcement decision the staff makes, there's the opportunity to appeal that.
So you're saying if we put in to your proposed change, if a non-conforming deck cannot be made conforming, the applicant can apply for a variance? thought that's what I understood the town
If there was
manager.
a safety issue, they would have to come in front of the
Right,
Board of
they would have-
Adjustment.
And then you add the other part, this would just be an add-on sentence
That would
to
be-
which,
That would, it's just directing them what to do,
right.
to go to the Board of Adjustment for a
Right.
variance.
Yeah,
Now, each
if-
variance is not, I mean, we've given we're formerly the Board of Adjustment as well.
Right.
We've given variances of what they requested or partial. Like, if they needed 10 feet, but we determined that they could do it safely with 7 feet. That's what we would
Right, I understand, yeah,
rule.
I'm very
And
familiar.
it goes added to the deed permanently, am I correct?
Goes with the land.
Yes. It's permitted forever on their property deed.
So
No,
we're
the
saying
deed,
is that
but
if
it
we
goes- it
add
runs
that
with the
sentence to your paragraph, if it's non-conforming, it can't be made conforming, they can apply for a variance, or if it meets these other two, then they can either, the town staff can approve a modification.
Bill, it sounds like you're still trying to get anybody that's rebuilding their deck to go, to be conforming, not non-conforming. I mean, this is all about the
Are we just
non-conforming.
trying, are we trying to, no, I'm saying, that
They're grandfathered in.
are they, if they're, but when you change something, the grandfather provisions no longer apply unless the grandfather provisions state that as long as that use continues, it will be grandfathered in. If your grandfathering provision or your non-conforming provision doesn't provide that, then if it's changed, then it can't continue on being non-conforming. You have to look at what does the
Well, yeah, we're
ordinance.
not trying to change
What,
it.
yeah,
We're
what this
trying
would
to-
do, what this would do would be to allow for a
Same
deck
footprint.
that is
Yeah.
non-conforming to be rebuilt and only in the same
Same.
footprint or less.
Or less,
Right.
if they're.
Legally
deed-
non-conforming,
Yes.
Legally.
legally.
So the setback might have changed. I know there've
So
been.
if you
some
bought your house in 1965 and it had this deck, and you just want to make sure that people aren't going to fall through the deck, and you just want to redo the deck, you can keep the deck as it is, but make it conforming to safety protocol, but maybe it's not going to fit our setback rules. Because you bought the house back in 1965, and that was the deck you expected to have. So we're just trying to make sure that people can keep what they bought. You know, we don't want to take, I mean, and none of us want anybody to take away what we bought, like what we invested in, right? I think we also don't want anybody to be injured, and we also don't want anybody to be hanging out where you can't take a left or a right because there's a deck in the way. So I think we're trying to find the middle ground of letting people have what they bought and what they invested in and expected. They didn't know that somebody was going to come and be like, oh, you're going to have to pull your deck back. Unless there's a safety concern. And so I think what Kenny's put in there with the safety concern has covered us really well with we want to give you what you bought, unless, if it's a safety concern, then we can't barter with that. But I feel like that's a good middle road of, this is what your house looked like. You want to make it look the way it looked when you bought it. You just want to keep it up to speed so that you're not going to have anybody get injured. Code, that's the good word. But we don't want to punish people because otherwise people will leave the bad deck there because they don't want to touch it. And we've seen cases where people touched it and they were like, man, I wish I just would have left the really horrible deck there, which is not a good answer. I understand why. I mean, there's a guy down the street from us, I could see it still got pillars, like he's like, I should have just so
If you recall that one we had.
that's the one I'm talking about.
It
It's still sitting
collapsed
there.
while he was trying to repair it.
So I'm saying, I think this is a good middle ground where we give people like access to the value of the house that they bought or built, whatever it was, whenever it was. But we take into account safety. Again, Kenny, really good add-on to the idea there. I think that covers our bases.
I think this is a good balance of nice matters and safety. You know, try to make things easier for all the residents, visitors here in town, but also keep it safe. So I think overall it's well worded, and I think it's very appropriate.
The only thing that I may, and again, we'll go back to this, and I appreciate earlier from Rush there, at the end of D, where deck footprint may need to be adjusted, it may require an application for a variance. It would be just to be on the upfront with everyone that if that does have to be adjusted due to safety concerns, it could require it to come back, meaning that it takes some of the responsibility off the town. And yes, it may move it back a month or two, but it does go back to the board. And it goes back to the Board of Adjustments to make that decision on what that footprint needs to look like. So, long way of saying, I guess I'll go ahead and make that. I guess my motion would be to approve this currently with the addition of, at the end of D, where deck footprint may need to be adjusted and may require an application for a variance.
I second that motion.
Okay, you got the motion and the second? Any other discussions on the proposed motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay. I just have to, I'm sorry.
Don't
That's
apologize.
what this board's about.
I'm just concerned about the language. We can talk about it afterwards, why I'm concerned.
It's not a problem. But when I started, I disagreed with everything. I didn't understand everything, and I was like, no, I don't want to do that. So, but I did what I thought was
Well,
right.
no, I'm,
I think you're doing fine. Don't
no, I'm
apologize.
not apologizing. No. I
Ayes
want to
have it.
apologize to my wife.
Move on.
Okay. That's, you got the the conditions on that, Linda? Okay. Next item on the agenda. Another proposed UDO amendment. And Linda, will you please go over that and tell the rest of the board what you told me about the number of requests you've gotten and the increases, if you have that information with you.
I do, it's in the
Okay.
monthly report.
That's very important.
Okay, this is to exempt dead trees from being required to have tree permits. We have had the laurel wilt come through our community, and it's killing a lot of trees. And we have a staff that's going out and checking to see if the tree is dead or not dead, and obviously with brown leaves, it's dead. So the proposal is to exempt dead trees from having to get a tree permit, and it's basically says the cutting down and removal of trees that do not exhibit signs of budding, leafing, or growth and are no longer biologically viable. And just to give you an idea of the permitting numbers, we had like 2 years ago, there were 100 and approximately, I'll tell you exactly, 152 permits for tree permits issued. This past fiscal year, ending in June, there were 293. And it takes a lot of staff time, and also it, the people just, they have to wait. A lot of times they have the tree cutter out there ready to go. So anyway, that's what this is all about.
Can I ask you a question in terms of how you know who's done something wrong? It's all somebody told on them, yes? Or is it for the people that pick up the yard waste on the side of the road? Are they the ones reporting back, or is it someone like the neighbor going, oh, somebody cut down a tree? Like, how does this work?
Basically, what happens is we do have some people that know that they need tree permits, and they come and ask for them. A lot of times it's people, neighbors, people driving around that see work being done. Chad was just involved with one recently. But it was helpful though. We were able, and when they do call, we do go out pretty much immediately. We do get a lot of calls about people who are cutting, trimming trees.
Yeah.
Some of them are a little bit dramatic in their trimming, like trimming trees. But, yeah, a lot of it is just people calling and letting us know what's going on.
Could people take a picture of a tree and send it in and say, hey, this is the picture of my tree, I would like to cut it down, I'm not cutting anything else down, and just give me yay or nay?
We actually have been doing that because of the amount of staff.
I mean, I think that makes complete sense. They're obvious. We all
Yeah,
have those
I mean,
trees on
yeah.
our property where you're like,
Absolutely.
and
Laurel
we've
wills
looked at them for
everywhere.
2 years.
Last year, my wife had two taken down in her yard, our yard, and that's exactly what she did. She took a picture of each, emailed it to Chris Seberg,
Yeah.
and he approved it.
I mean, it doesn't, it's not even a permit. I guess it's almost like if people don't want to get a permit, just take a picture of it, cut it down, and you have proof.
It's
I
a, it's
guess-
a protection for you in the future as the homeowner or.
Chad, you're.
Well, okay, so I have a problem with, I mean, I understand it's increased staff, it's increased, I don't have a problem with having to not have a permit to take down a dead tree. I do, however, feel there should still be some sort of communication to the town to give a heads up that I'm removing a dead tree from the property.
So they don't come chasing you?
Well, because then it leads from this tree was dead, well, while you're here,
Yeah.
Mr. Acme Tree Company, why don't you take this 14-inch caliber live oak tree down, it's beautiful and green, and I don't like it because it drops leaves in my driveway.
Fair.
You know, there's no control of it. Then again, the dead is fine, and, you know, you've called the town and you've asked for permission to take a dead one down, no problem, you're not being permitted. But then, should you want to go and then do the whole, I want this tree taken down, you should still have to permit that live tree, and you should still have to. We're trying to save the 35% natural area, I mean, that's all. It's hard to do, it's non-existent on the island, but when you want to take down a tree that was planted 20 years ago, and it's now a beautiful live oak tree, just because you don't like it, because you moved here, just don't feel it's fair.
Well, I guess that's a question is how do you document that prior? And who do you get it to from certain angles so it can be approved without waiting at length for a permit?
And we all know
I
that, I
mean,
mean,
and taking away staff resources.
you also know that some people are going to turn somebody in when they shouldn't, like, whatever. There's all the things, but like, people will not say something about the neighbor next door who cuts down a beautiful tree, but they'll say something about someone
It's just
else who cut down a
question, like,
tree.
hey, was this permitted?
Right,
And they
it's
say
like,
no,
it's
then there's
frustrating,
an
because
issue
then
to-
there's also the unevenness of that, which is frustrating to me. I don't like that. So I don't know how to make it fair. That's why I guess I went to the picture, because I get there, I drive, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that tree needs to come down. They're probably not gonna cut it down because they're waiting for a permit, but it needs to come down. But then we've also seen people get really beat up for things, and it's like, we've got to find a balance. I don't know what it is, but
Well, I mean, I don't feel they should have to pay a permit fee to take down a dead tree.
agree.
I mean, I
Agree.
agree with this, you know, with what you got here, don't need to pay for that.
I agree with that, but how much time does it take to do 200 to 300 permits?
Right, I mean, the permit time, that's, you know, for a dead tree, that's a lot of time to write a permit that Greg has to sit there
Would
and
you have
type up all the
to
time.
site visit?
Yeah, and the site visit.
Well,
That's what I'm saying.
I guess with your experience, just out of curiosity, from picture to being able to take down a dead tree or two, what was that timeline
Very
like?
quick, but I talked to Chris directly about it, saying, I'm gonna be sending you some pictures. And our tree guys come pretty soon, can you make it quick? I can do that. The average person can't, so that's not a good example of how quick the system is. You know, I don't know if that would work for everybody. I don't think I get special treatment, but when you're on a first-name basis with a director, it doesn't hurt.
I feel like at the end of the day, we're balancing between people who actually have good intentions and want to take care of things, and then there're just a few bad apples that like poison everything.
You save one and lose three.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. It's just like,
a never-ending
it's
battle.
frustrating. Yeah, I don't know the answer. I just feel like
I don't
people
think
who just
it's,
want to take good care of their land get punished, and that's just bothers me. But
I agree with the
I'm
free.
good with the UDO amendment that you have here, I think it's well-written, and I think
I-
it does it.
I agree with the free permit for dead tree removal. But just giving that free permit, the amount we're getting because of the dead bays, you know, they're everywhere.
So would you be okay with the picture, sending in, saying, hey, can I go ahead and cut this down?
If that's,
And just
if
somebody gets it
it's,
checked?
if it's possible, but if the people are out of town and they live out of town,
Somebody can take the picture of just cutting the tree down, could take
There's,
Still out of town, and they still hired someone to go do the
Somebody
work.
can take a
So
picture
why
of
can't
it. I can take a
someone
picture of it. I can-
provide some
or
sort
they
of
could take a picture as evidence.
documentation
They could
stating-
take their own picture as evidence and say, here's what I took down, here's before and after.
Yeah.
They could do that, and that way if someone said they cut down live trees, they've got evidence to show they didn't, without having to get town staff to go out there and get pictures.
And at the end of the day, somebody's neighbor is gonna get
And
in the business and say.
You're in
"Oh,
the business, you're overdoing a dead tree, which is, is perfectly legal. And they say, while you're here, can you trim that tree? Or what you're there to do, some other landscaping, say, hey, can you go ahead and take down this dead bay while you're here? Why should you have to go, stop, get a picture of it, mail it in, wait to get approval to take down that tree that you know is dead?
Can I make a suggestion?
Of course.
What if, I think that a lot of the situation between the good and the bad eggs is, a lot of it is not knowing. And a lot of people, when they do cut down trees, they hire the tree companies. And the tree companies right now are usually fairly good about, coming in, asking for the permits, not cutting stuff down, typically, the local one. So maybe if we start an education campaign, have a meeting with all the tree companies right now, that are local, and explain to them that that we're considering this amendment, and they have to know, that they can send in a picture or have some kind of proof. So if it comes back, we're not going to come back and come after you and say you cut down a live tree.
That's great, because that's what they do on Coast
Yeah,
Guard
because
Road,
even
right?
now, if you're looking at your aerial, I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying.
If you're looking at the aerial footage, and you look at a tree in April, between April and right now, that
Oh, yeah,
tree's
it's different.
turned, you know what I mean? It's totally different already. So it could have been alive in April because it was spring flush. And it put out, and then a month later, it just went through decline and died, and that happens all the time. So, I don't want to fault someone for taking something dead down, but then on the other hand, if it wasn't.
But I think if we let the tree companies know, and then they can,
That we're watching.
and just educate them that,
That's worse.
we're gonna give it.
Yeah, I mean, Frank, you got any input on that either as well, on the tree thing here? I mean, I know you're just back in the game, but this tree thing's been going on for a while now, so.
Yeah, so
I mean, again, I think it's a fundamental question for the planning board and ultimately the elected officials on how much you trust the citizenry to do the right thing, right? And how difficult or how burdensome you want to be with our ordinances and our procedures. So in my experience, most people don't want to cut down nice trees. Certainly, they want to cut down a dead tree. We want them to cut down a dead tree because we don't want it to cause a safety issue for a person or a structure. So, I mean, that's the fundamental question, how much trust do you have in your people to do the right thing? There's always going to be good eggs and bad eggs, right? You can't stop every bad egg from taking action. But previously, my understanding is that the town amended this ordinance sometime during my absence. But in the past, what we would do is just simply require a consultation with the town and just let us know that you're going to take down the dead tree. And so the picture idea may be a good way to do that, if that's the sense that you want to take, right? If you want us to continue to require a permit, we can do that. There's obviously a lot of dead trees, and that's why Linda brought the ordinance to you. So if that's helpful to you, I hope so.
Well, and it's not like we can't go change it again. Like, if all of a sudden people go crazy and start chopping all the trees down, we can hop right in. But hopefully we don't have those people here. But I mean, I feel like it's not like a cliff that we jump off of and it's just be all end all. Everybody can just burn the place down. So I don't know. I just think we should expect grown-up stuff like that.
Question on the staff summary, it noted, this is 1, 2, 3, just item number 4, it says respond to large-scale die-off of trees caused by laurel wilt and other factors such as drought and storm damage. How are we, the ordinance only talks about if it's dead in there. We have a section in the ordinance, it's 953, I believe it is, that talks about damaged trees. Are we requiring them to replace the damaged tree it's cut down, that we agree to let them cut it down? Or are we just simply making this one apply only to dead trees? Yeah, we're talking,
Well, as long as the dead tree still has its roots in place, you're not going to lose your ground. So like if you cut a tree down and leave the stump and the roots,
But no,
so that's why the whole 36, right, or whatever.
well, here, in the staff summary talked about also related to drought and storm damaged trees. But we have a provision that if you take a damaged tree down in there, whether it's caused by
That's not in
storms.
play for residential. That may be in play for, I think, the commercial and.
I thought it went in for all the
Well,
lots.
maybe you go back to what Frank was saying about, like, you have to have a consultation with the town to say, is this really damaged?
Well,
Like,
we-
do I think it's damaged? Not
yeah,
damaged?
If we just eliminate this from the staff summary, so it's never even considered, it's only a dead tree.
Dead tree.
We're talking dead bug, dead tree.
That's fair.
We can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm good with that.
Dead or-
Of course, because the more
If it's
latitude,
damaged, they can get a permit.
yeah, the more latitude that you have, the more loops people are gonna look through and walk through. Well, I didn't know that. I thought I was okay.
Just,
Fair.
I didn't know. I'm just counting how many times I told my parents that growing up. I didn't know that. I shouldn't be in trouble for that. I didn't know.
My dad used to remind me after the first time, you'll remember next time.
Yeah, that's followed that. So you,
I just wanted to make it clear that
one? This one?
the summary does not, that we eliminate this from the summary, so we have the text amendment just simply is related only to dead, not a damaged tree.
yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. You would not want that summary added to the ordinance.
That's correct. I don't want that into the discussion of the ordinance or anything in there. It's just simply,
But otherwise, the way the ordinance is written, you agree with it.
I'm agreeing. I just
I'm going to make a motion.
I don't believe she's.
I think, I'm
I'm
trying to
going to
figure
make a
out.
motion.
I
I think I got it.
think Bill just did. That's
Oh,
what
okay, well, I'm going to say it out loud, okay?
Am I correct? That
That's
was the
correct.
motion?
All right.
What was the exact wording of it, just out of curiosity?
Oh, wait.
What was your motion for exact wording? I guess?
Basically, the summary section at the bottom of the page, that is just for discussion purposes only
It's
and not part
to
of
be
the
included in any
ordinance.
part of the ordinance. The ordinance, proposed ordinance would be just what's in the black highlighted.
Right.
Section 2.
That's all it says, and there's no exceptions. If they want to find an exception, then they have to go otherwise in the ordinance.
So you'd want to strike purpose and background?
All right.
No,
No, okay.
yeah.
Okay.
All right, so then we just go with the proposed amendment of,
Yeah.
Cutting
Basically,
down
strike that
and-
last paragraph.
Yep.
fancy your pen. Mine's not there. Oh, wait, I did the other direction.
You don't have to draw.
No, I'm making it be right on it.
She's been drawing over here. Don't worry about it.
Can I draw on your laptops?
Yes, yes.
All right, this one.
Okay, we have a motion by Bill Little. Everybody understands it now? Mm-hmm. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second. Anything else to add? You sure? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Kristen, did you say aye?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's
Yeah, let me
unanimous.
see it in.
Thank you.
Get my new seat.
Thank you.
Jimmy.
And you didn't have to apologize this time,
That's right. Well, I don't apologize,
except to your wife.
except to my wife.
Okay.
He likes to be closer to Ken.
And you're still going to get calls.
Oh, yeah, that's okay. We can
The
handle it.
neighbors are going to complain that they cut down the dead tree without a permit.
I can't imagine. I can't.
Okay, that's, item number 6 is complete,
Call and say,
completed. Next item on the agenda is Planning Director's Report, Planning Department Monthly Report and upcoming meetings. Take it away, Ms. Planning Director.
Basically, you have a copy of the report. It is the end of the fiscal year, so the month, if you look at the charts in the back, you can kind of get an idea from a comparison perspective where we are with different things. For example, new housing starts in fiscal year 22-23, it was 53, 23-24, it was 52, and 24-25, it was 37. Also, other things you might be interested in is the cost of construction and the value of construction. And the comparison there is under construction values. There was approximately 75 million in 22-23. In 23-24, it dropped to 69,000, or 69 million rather. And then in 24-25, it went back up to almost 74 million. Total permits issued has gone down. Fiscal year 22-23, it was 891. 23-24 was 825, and 24-25 was 734. So it kind of gives you an idea, and what month, you can look at this and see what months were the busiest and, you know, what kind of activity happened. We did the orientation materials. I sent that to all the planning board members because there was a link to the School of Government. There are planning modules that you can look at if you're interested. I wanted to make sure that everybody had a copy of that. While in your hiatus, the town commissioners adopted or did some UDO updates. Specifically, they changed the terms from 2 to 3 years, and the rules of procedure were updated for compliance with the general statutes 160D. The drone consent was removed from all of our applications. And there's new camera policies related to docks and piers. You can be exempt, and the property owner is the one who determines that under state law. Also, for this month, we're working on a social district for the K&B Plaza, which basically would allow for the Fish Hut and Flippers and the Thirsty Surfer to be able to serve, and then people could take their drinks outside and walk within the K&B Plaza. But they wouldn't be able to leave the K&B Plaza parking lot. So that's one of the things that's coming. Let's see, we updated the penalties for, some of the things that we need to look at is updating the penalties for violations within 160D, because currently we have a criminal, you can be charged criminally if you violate a UDO or a Unified Development Ordinance, and you legally under the North Carolina General Statute can't do that anymore, so we have to adjust that. And we're also working on nuisance regulations to allow for condemnations of residential properties. There's a couple properties that I'm sure you're aware of that we're looking at, and we're also updating the junked vehicle ordinances to allow us to be able to go on to private property and declare a vehicle to be a health and safety hazard and be able to remove it. Because there's a couple lots that have some junked vehicles on them. And still, CAMA is being taken care of through the CAMA office, the state CAMA office, until such time as you have a permanent thing. So that's the update on the
Okay.
report, if anybody has.
Next planning board meeting?
Next planning board meeting scheduled for August the 25th, then September 22nd and October 27th. And the Board of Commissioners meeting is August 12th. So these two amendments will be going to the Board of Commissioners, and the social district, the junked vehicles, and condemnations.
I won't be here August 25th.
What was the date? August what?
25th.
25th. Okay. I wrote the wrong date down again already. You won't be here?
No, I'm going to ask for an excused absence.
Well, it depends on why you're not going to be here. Are you going trout fishing, or do you? No. Yes.
I'll be.
Just let our fine planning director know that you won't be here, so in case we have a problem with getting a quorum, because we're down one member right now. We just need to make sure we're going to have a quorum, so.
Sounds good. Just giving a heads up. Anybody else?
Anything else?
Board comments?
Yeah, I'm getting ready though.
Oh,
The next to last thing, on the agenda is comments from board members. We'll start with our first. Chris, any comments?
No.
Nothing at all?
No,
Baking recipes you want to share? Nothing?
not today.
Okay. Bill?
I think I've had all my comments so far.
Okay.
I got my quota for the meeting.
Hey, there's no quota. We do kind of have a limit, but.
I have no comments.
Is that a non-conforming quota?
We allow non-conforming.
No quota. If they let me talk, you're okay. If they let me talk, you're gonna be fine. So welcome to the board. On to you.
Linda, nice to meet you finally, face to the name. Appreciate all you're doing for the town,
Thank you for having me.
and hopefully we'll be able to get somebody in here that can fill the shoes.
I hope we keep
Or
her.
keep you, yeah.
Well, that'd be lovely,
pretty
but
fun.
I think she's ready to do it.
Although I did,
Done, aren't you?
I did find out she only works 4 days a week, so I don't know.
I just also want to say, glad to have Frank back in town. It's a good thing.
Well, you're taking all my comments away from
Forward to
me.
it. And Doug, you too. Thanks for all you do. Your commissioners, thank you.
And I'm the last one for the comments, so Linda, thank you. I appreciate you spending the extra time with me today. I know I'm
Thank you.
long-winded.
It's nice to have a planning board that's involved and interested in reading the detail.
Yeah, but I get long-winded, I know. And with that, just a few things, Frank. I've been dying to tell him that. Some of y'all know the joke on that. You want to tell that about that, Frank? Just a few things? Okay. That was Frank's sign-off at the Board of Commissioners meeting for, almost 2 decades. That meant be ready for the next 30-minute to 45-minute conversation, just a few things. Am I close? He's very thorough. What's wrong with that? But I'm darn glad to have him back. And Jen, thanks for joining the party. With that said, are we ready?
I make a motion to end the meeting.
Adjourn.
Yeah, that's the word I meant.
Second.
Strong.
All those
I will
in favor?
second.
Bill already seconded.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, we got to get Bill in the minutes. Bill had the second. Well, that's the second time you're in the minutes for making a motion.
Smack it, Kenny.
Smack it.
I know, it's the second time. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
Please turn off your microphones if you can.
End.